وقف المجزرة هذه، مجزرة ضد الأطفال، هذا عمره سنتين، مش حرام هذه؟ ايش يبقى بالدنيا لسه؟ أطفالنا بموتوا هم لسه بالسن هذا، مش هذه جريمة العصر هذا. حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل.
With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, is paying a visit to the Palestinian family of Abdullah Nasser al-Rar, who is receiving medical treatment at the Ain Najah Military Hospital. Foreign Affairs Minister Ahmed Attaf, instructed by the President of the Republic, is participating to the 161st session of the Council of the Arab League at ministerial level in Cairo, Egypt. The Council of Foreign Affairs of the Member States of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation called for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire against the aggression against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. Those were the major development. Now the full news edition. Good afternoon. Here in Algiers, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, today paid a visit to the Palestinian family of Abdullah Nasser al-Rar, who are receiving medical treatment at the Ain Najah Military Hospital. The family of the Palestinian Abdullah Nasser al-Rar was the victims of a barbaric attack carried out by the Zionist regime forces in the Gaza Strip. President Tebboune also visited Sheikh Hassan, director of the Quranic school in Zejmir, in the southern province of Adrar, who is receiving medical treatment at the military hospital of Ain Najah here in Algiers. The President of the Republic had a telephone conversation with his brother, the President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Mohammed Ould Sheikh El Ghazouani, during which he renewed his congratulations on the occasion of Mauritania's membership to the Gas Exporting Countries Forum. On this occasion, the President of the Republic informed the Mauritanian President of the tripartite Maghreb meeting that brought together the Algerian, Tunisian and Libyan presidents at the end of the 7th CCF summit held in Algiers. The President of the Republic also discussed current African issues with the President of Mauritania, current Chairman of the African Union. The President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, has described the Algerian-Iranian political relations as very strong, underlining the necessity to raise economic cooperation to the level of the political consensus between the two countries. In an interview with the Algerian television, President said the following.
Iran maintains very strong political relations with Algeria. There is a need to raise the level of economic relations to the same level of the political consensus between the two countries. We hail Algeria's position in favor of the Palestinian cause. As a non-permanent member of the Security Council, it would be able to play a very important role in favor of the defense of the oppressed Palestinian people.
He added that the Iranian people has a high regard of the Algerian people who have a great history in the struggle against colonialism and paid a high price to recover their freedom. The Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, Army General Said Shangriha, was received on Tuesday, the third day of his official visit to Qatar, to take part in the 8th edition of the Doha International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference deemed DEX 2024 by Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani, personal representative of the Emir of the State of Qatar. During the meeting, the Army General Said Shangriha said the following.
I express my sincere thanks to your host and for the warm welcome and hospitality. I convey the greetings of the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense Abdelmajid Tebboune, who grants a particular interest to the promotion of our bilateral military relations in all areas of common interest.
Vice Par Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani said he was very pleased that Algeria, represented by the Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, is taking part in this exhibition, which highlights the high level of military cooperation between the two brotherly countries, which reflects the high degree of understanding and trust that characterize relations between Algeria and Qatar in more ways than one. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, as instructed by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, is participating to the 161st session of the Council of the Arab League at ministerial level, held in Cairo, Egypt. The proceeding of the session will focus on the assessment of several files and questions linked to the political and safety situation in the Arab world and to the common Arab action, especially as the Israeli aggression in Gaza Strip is continuing. Mr. Attaf held today talks in Cairo with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Egypt, Sameh Shoukry. The meeting was an opportunity to review the privileged relations of brotherhood and cooperation between the two countries and to examine ways of boosting them to even higher levels ahead of the upcoming bilateral meetings. The two parties also discussed the continuing Israeli aggression against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, in addition to issues relating to coordination at continental level. And now the 80th Conference of the Parliamentary Union of Member States of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation came to a close in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, after 4 days of proceedings, according to a press release from the National People's Assembly. The closing session was chaired by the President of the National Assembly of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire. The new and current President of the UPCI, Adam Bictogo, reads the press release, which points out that the proceedings culminated in the Abidjan Declaration, containing 12 clauses, most of which focused on support for the Palestinian cause. It should be noting that the closing session saw a request from the Palestinian parliamentary delegation to address thanks to Algeria for the role it plays within the Security Council. The delegation expressed its gratitude for Algeria's determination to call for a ceasefire despite attempts by states supporting the Zionist entity to reject it. And now, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, has called for an effective action on all fronts to step up pressure on the Israeli occupation to put an end to its tyranny and barbarism, as well as bring it to justice by stepping up the measures taken before international judicial bodies and the UN General Assembly. Jamel Salmani has the details in this report.
In his address during the extraordinary meeting of the Council of Foreign Affairs of the member countries of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation held in Jeddah, Ahmed Attaf said that the current delicate situation requires us to unite our collective positions with measures and initiatives to respond to the cries of distress of our Palestinian brothers and put an end to the injustice, suffering and affliction caused by a barbaric aggression that violates all political, legal and moral principles and rules, an aggression whose barbarity defies description. He insisted that it is time to understand that condemnation and indignation alone are not enough to stop the systematic genocide and extermination that is taking place in Gaza, calling for effective action on all fronts to intensify the pressure on the Zionist occupation and put an end to its tyranny and barbarity. Ahmed Attaf said it would have made more sense for the era of accountability to begin for the colonialist Israeli occupier, who should be judged and punished here by our commitment and by our actions, adding that it would also have been expected and hoped that we would have supported without hesitation the severance of diplomatic, cultural, economic, commercial, military and security relations with the Zionist occupier, as requested by the African Union a few days ago. Mr. Attaf deplored the stripping from the draft resolution before us of all these serious measures, preventing our meeting from achieving its objectives while losing its essence and meaning. For Ahmed Attaf, the second demand consists in consolidating the steps taken before international judicial bodies and supporting them with additional steps before the United Nations General Assembly with a view to deciding on firm punitive measures that will put a definitive end to the nepotism, exceptions and undue privileges from which the Zionist regime has always exclusively benefited. As for the third and final demand, Ahmed Attaf added,
Iran maintains very strong political relations with Algeria. There is a need to raise the level of economic relations to the same level of the political consensus between the two countries. We hail Algeria's position in favor of the Palestinian cause. As a non-permanent member of the Security Council, it would be able to play a very important role in favor of the defense of the oppressed Palestinian people.
As part of his participation in the Organization of Islamic Cooperation Extraordinary Meeting in Jeddah, Ahmed Attaf held bilateral talks with the Secretary General of the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation, Hussein Ibrahim Taha, and a number of his counterparts, including the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Palestine, Riyad Al Maliki, the Tunisian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and Tunisians Abroad, Nabil Ammar, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mauritania, Mohammed Salim Ould Marzouk.
And now the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Member States of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, called for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire against the comprehensive aggression against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip and for providing humanitarian, medical and relief aid, providing water and electricity and opening of humanitarian corridors to deliver urgent aid to the Gaza Strip without obstacle and in an adequate manner. This came during the extraordinary session of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Member States of the OIC, which was held at the headquarters of the OIC General Secretariat in Jeddah on March 5, 2024, at the request of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, State of Palestine, Jordan, and of Iran. Given the continuation of the unprecedented barbaric aggression in the occupied Palestinian territory, specifically in the Gaza Strip, which has so far led to the martyrdom of more than 30,400 martyrs, 70% of whom are women and children, including 8,000 women, and 12,650 children, and more than 71,500 injured, and the forced displacement of more than 1.5 million Palestinians from their homes. And now the Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, has said from Abidjan, Ivory Coast, that the Palestinian cause has always been at the heart of Algeria's efforts during its rotating presidency of the Parliamentary Union of Member States of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The details in this report.
In his speech before the handover of the rotating presidency of the UPCI to the chairman of the Ivorian National Assembly, Adama Bictogo, Brahim Boughali denounced the unprecedented barbaric aggression against the Gaza Strip, urging the members of the Union to take a unified stand to break the siege and bring the Zionist war criminals to international justice. After welcoming the efforts made by South Africa in bringing the Zionist entity before the International Court of Justice (ICJ), the APN chairman recalled with pride the steps taken by Algeria as a non-permanent member of the Security Council for ceasefire in Gaza and the protection of the Palestinian people. Continuing his assessment of the Algerian presidency of the UPCI, Brahim Boughali reviewed the results of the last meeting of its executive committee held in Constantine, particularly with regard to the creation of the Incubator for Youth Projects in the Muslim nation and the adoption of the cybersecurity strategy, underlining that the Union's decisions must not go unheeded. On the subject of global climate change and the fight against this phenomenon, the main theme of this session, the chairman of the lower house of parliament stated that Algeria was the first to ratify all the conventions on climate change, despite being one of the least polluting countries in the world, indicating that it has included in its constitution provisions aimed at protecting the environment and has set up the National Economic, Social and Environmental Council, CNES, one of whose missions is to propose solutions to environmental problems. He also recalled Algeria's ratification of the National Climate Plan (PNC) for the period 2020-2030, which constitutes its international showcase in this field, adding that the President of the Republic is taking a particular interest in environmental issues by creating an autonomous ministry dedicated to this field, in addition to the important role played by the various Algerian players in this area. On this occasion, Brahim Boughali underlined the Algerian Parliament's contribution to addressing climate change concerns by strengthening the legal arsenal and enriching national legislation, as well as creating a parliamentary network dedicated to climate and the environment with a wide range of expertise. At the end of his speech, the APN speaker urged the parliaments of the Union to support governments in their efforts to adapt to climate change and mitigate its negative effects, calling for involving all sections of society in this effort and to contribute by various means to the adoption of a sound environmental policy.
Outside the 18th Conference of the Parliamentary Union of the Member States of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation held in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, Mr. Bourali met with the President of Turkey's Grand National Assembly, Numan Kurtulmus. The two sides evoked the special historical relations between the two parties, highlighting the qualitative leap that has marked these relations since the accession of Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune to the presidency of the country, particularly at the political level and economic level. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has warned of an imminent explosion in the number of child deaths linked to malnutrition in the Gaza Strip, which has been subjected to an Israeli genocidal aggression since October 7th. Sarid Bouazi has more.
UNICEF spokesman James Elder told the press conference at the United Nations headquarters in Geneva, "We are witnessing deaths due to malnutrition that we have feared for a long time, and we see these deaths are going to continue to increase. We will see an imminent explosion in child deaths if the worsening nutritional crisis is not resolved in the Gaza Strip," he warned, before explaining that the rates of malnutrition among children under 5 in the north are 3 times higher than those in Rafah in the south of the Palestinian enclave. The UNICEF spokesman went on to say that in addition to hunger, there is a growing risk of the spread of infectious diseases, since 9 out of 10 children under the age of 5 or 220,000 children have fallen ill in recent weeks. Against this backdrop, the Director General of the World Health Organization, Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, has said that civilians, especially children and health workers in the Gaza Strip, need immediate assistance. In a message on the X platform, the WHO Director General warned of serious levels of malnutrition in northern Gaza.
And now the official spokesman for the presidency, Nabila Borodina, said that the approval of the Israeli occupation authorities to build 3,500 colonial units in East Jerusalem represents a clear Israeli attempt to drag the region into the comprehensive explosion that the Palestinian leadership has repeatedly warned against, stressing that the international failure, especially the American one to punish Israel, has encouraged it to persist in challenging and rejecting international legitimacy. He added that settlement projects are condemned and rejected and will not bring security to anyone, and the international community has confirmed that all settlements are illegal in all the occupied Palestinian territories, including East Jerusalem, especially in UN Resolution number 2334, indicating that this Israeli decision constitutes a slap in the face of the entire world, who called for an end to settlement activity and an end to the violence of terrorist settlers. Abu Rudaina pointed out that these Israeli decisions came in the context of the ongoing war waged by the Israeli occupation authorities against the Palestinian people in all the occupied Palestinian territories in the Gaza Strip, the West Bank and East Jerusalem, in light of the unprecedented international silence that encourages the Israeli government to commit more crimes of genocide and ethnic cleansing against our people, our land and our sanctities. And now the UN has urged the world to flood Gaza with aid to save starving children after visiting two hospitals for the first time since the start of the Zionist aggression in October 7th, which has resulted in 30,631 martyrs wounded and 72,000 wounded, most of them women and children. More with Jamal Salmani.
The spokesman for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, Mr. Jens Lerich, said that children starting to die of hunger should be an alarm like no other. The World Health Organization has reported grim scenes of starving children after bringing aid to two hospitals in the north last week for the first time since October. Doctors at Kamel Adwan Hospital, the only pediatric hospital in northern Gaza, told the team that at least 10 children had died of hunger, said Ahmed Dahir, who headed the mission, at a press briefing in Geneva via video link from the Palestinian territory. Since then, the Palestinian Ministry of Health has reported that the number of children dying in hospital due to malnutrition and dehydration had risen to 15 and that 6 infants suffering from acute malnutrition were at serious risk. Jens Lerich stressed that if this is not the case now, when will it be time to flood Gaza with the aid it needs? We need to see happen. The UN has warned that famine in the Gaza Strip is almost inevitable as a result of the genocidal Zionist aggression against the Gaza Strip.
And that's it for our news bulletin. Algeria is marking its presence at the International Tourism Exchange in Berlin, Germany, showcasing its cultural heritage and tourist potential. The event is currently being held and recognized as the world's most significant tourism fair, attracting industry professionals from across the globe. Algeria is known for her tourist attractions. Today we invite you to discover one of the most famous museums in the capital Algiers, or let's say in the whole country. It is the Bardo Museum located in the heart of Algiers.